Have you ever been caught off guard when someone disrespected you in front of others? Maybe it was a careless, sarcastic remark or an awkward joke that made you feel embarrassed and undervalued. In moments like these, have you wondered how to respond in a way that not only preserves your dignity, but also commands respect, even from people who usually ignore others' worth? You're not alone. Almost everyone has faced situations like this. And the good news is, you have more control than you realize over how you react. In this video, we'll explore practical tips and psychological techniques inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. These strategies will help you stay calm during difficult encounters and earn genuine respect from those around you. Stay tuned as we reveal how to turn uncomfortable moments into opportunities to affirm your self-worth. First, let's understand why these situations happen. Often, it's not personal hatred or grudges. Instead, some people act opportunistically. They try to boost themselves by putting others down, believing that making you look weak or uneasy makes them shine brighter. This behavior happens everywhere, at work, in social groups, and even within families. Stoic philosophy reminds us that respect isn't something you demand or force on others. It's earned through how you carry yourself and the boundaries you set to protect your self-worth. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you truly grasp this, you find strength in moments of disrespect. Your calm and confidence become your greatest defenses. But this isn't just about reacting to negative moments. It's about creating an environment where respect naturally follows, where no one can use you as a stepping stone to boost their image. You demonstrate your value by standing firm, unshaken by cheap remarks or subtle attempts to undermine you. Get ready to learn how to apply Stoic principles in everyday life. These small yet powerful strategies will help you hold your ground gracefully and confidently in any situation. If you've ever felt unbalanced, belittled, or overlooked, remember, respect is not won through harsh comebacks, but through calm and steady self-control. Now let's dive into these practical solutions and discover how to handle disrespect with grace and strength. Tip number 1, first impressions matter more than you think. First impressions aren't just fleeting social niceties, they're powerful. In many cases, they form the foundation for how others perceive you going forward. What's interesting is that first impressions are often shaped less by what you say and more by how you show up in a moment. It's not your words, but your energy, posture, and presence that make the strongest impact. Imagine this. You're at a professional networking event. A well-known leader in your field enters the room, quickly scanning the crowd. They walk toward you and extend their hand for a greeting. But instead of standing up, you stay seated. You glance at their hand, offer a brief handshake, and smile weakly. In that small moment, without meaning to, you've sent a subtle signal that you lack confidence or that this person isn't worth the effort of your full attention. That one gesture has already shaped how they see you. It may seem insignificant, but those little behaviors, whether you rise to greet someone, whether you make eye contact, whether you appear present, carry enormous weight. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that how we conduct ourselves externally is a direct reflection of our inner values and discipline. Standing up to greet someone, holding your posture with poise, maintaining calm eye contact. These are not just polite gestures. They are demonstrations of character, clarity, and intentional living. There's a Stoic principle that fits here perfectly. What is within your control? You can't control how others react or what they think of you in the long run, but you can control how you show up. You can take ownership of your body language, your awareness, and your presence in a room. And these seemingly small things often speak louder than any words you could say. Let me share a story to illustrate this. I once attended a professional seminar where networking was the entire focus. The room was full of ambitious people, each hoping to make lasting connections. One attendee stood out, not because he had the most impressive resume or the loudest voice, but because of how he carried himself. Whenever someone approached him, whether it was a top executive or the server refilling his coffee, he stood up. He made eye contact. He smiled with sincerity and gave them his full attention. There was nothing exaggerated about it, no showmanship, just quiet confidence and respectful presence. And people noticed. Throughout the day, others gravitated toward him, not because of anything he said, but because of the energy he projected. He commanded respect without ever demanding it. Now contrast that with another attendee I observed. He was friendly and highly intelligent, but he remained seated during every greeting. He rarely made eye contact. He was simply unaware of the subtle messages he was sending. People didn't necessarily dislike him, but there was a noticeable distance in how they interacted with him. His physical passivity was misread as emotional indifference or even social awkwardness. This comparison revealed something powerful. Standing up to greet someone isn't just good manners, it's a symbolic act. You're saying, I see you, you matter, and I value this moment. And at the same time, you're saying, I am someone who respects myself enough to show up with intention. That simple gesture, rising to meet another person, embodies the Stoic ideal of aligning action with values. If you want to apply this principle in your daily life, start small. The next time you meet someone at work, at a coffee shop, at a casual lunch, treat the interaction like it matters. Stand up when you say hello. Make calm, steady eye contact. Smile with intention. Don't rush. Be fully there. These micro behaviors will not only shape how others see you, but they will also reinforce your own sense of confidence and clarity. This is what Stoicism is really about. Not cold detachment, but mindful action. Living with presence. Taking responsibility for your role in every moment, even the smallest ones. So remember this. First impressions aren't about flashy words or dramatic entrances. They're about the quiet power of self-respect. They're about the effort you make to treat yourself and others with dignity. They are the sum of small actions rooted in intentional thought. Let your presence speak for you. Rise when you greet someone. Look them in the eye. Let your posture reflect your purpose. In doing so, you will earn something far more valuable than temporary approval. You will earn authentic respect. Would you like me to format this as a video script, blog post, or essay? Tip number 2, mastering the interruption. Holding your ground with calm authority. Have you ever been interrupted in the middle of making a point, especially in a public setting, only to feel frustration rise in your chest like a wave? It's a jarring experience. One moment, you're sharing your thoughts with clarity and intention. The next, someone jumps in, hijacking the conversation and scattering your focus. It can feel like being suddenly pushed off stage mid-speech. The most common reactions in moments like this are either to snap back, retreat into silence, or awkwardly try to regain control. But what if there were a better way, one that didn't rely on confrontation or passive submission? This is where Stoic philosophy offers us a powerful alternative: self-mastery over emotional reaction. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control others, only how we respond. And in these moments of interruption, a simple but powerful response can shift the entire dynamic without saying a word. A calm, steady gaze. Imagine you're speaking in a meeting or telling a story at dinner and someone cuts you off. Instead of reacting with frustration or sarcasm, take a breath, pause, and fix your eyes on the person who interrupted. Not with anger, but with calm determination. That gaze, silent and composed, speaks volumes. It communicates, without raising your voice, that the interruption was noted, that it was inappropriate, and that you are not someone who can be easily dismissed. It's not about intimidating or shaming the other person. It's about asserting your presence and commanding respect, without ever losing your composure. Let me give you a real-life example. I once attended a family dinner where the atmosphere was warm and lively. At one point, I began telling a funny story from a recent trip. About halfway through, a relative, well-meaning but self-centered, jumped in and started talking over me to share their experience. For a moment, I felt invisible, like my words were disposable. But instead of speaking over them or expressing irritation, I simply stopped talking, turned to them, and looked at them with calm attentiveness. I didn't frown. I didn't interrupt back. I just looked and waited. The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds, but it was powerful. They noticed. They paused, smiled sheepishly, and said, "Oh, sorry, go ahead." I nodded, resumed my story, and the evening continued smoothly. That's the beauty of the Stoic approach. It transforms tension into clarity. Why does this work so well? Because social dynamics are sensitive to body language and nonverbal cues. Most people don't interrupt maliciously. They're caught in ego, excitement, or poor habits. But when you respond to their disruption with calm self-possession, you trigger a subtle social recalibration. You hold up a mirror to their behavior without shaming them and invite them to reflect and adjust. And that's just the beginning. Once you've claimed your space with your gaze, don't just move on passively. Return to your point with gentle but clear intention. A phrase like, "Let me finish what I was saying," or "picking up where I left off," asserts your right to be heard. It brings the focus back to you without escalating the situation. This strategy is especially effective in public or group environments, meetings, classrooms, dinner parties, where reputational energy is at play. People are watching. When they see you handle a potentially awkward moment with grace and inner strength, they begin to see you differently. You become someone who doesn't need to dominate the room, but who naturally commands attention and respect. And that is the Stoic essence. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The interruption may be beyond your control, but how you respond is entirely yours to own. It's important to note that this is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending rudeness doesn't exist. It's about choosing the most effective, self-respecting way to respond. Anger may feel momentarily satisfying, but it often diminishes your credibility. Calm, on the other hand, amplifies it. So the next time someone interrupts you, whether in a meeting, at home, or in public, don't rush to react. Pause. Look them in the eye. Let the silence say what words can't. Then resume your point with clarity and poise. This isn't just a strategy for communication. It's a declaration of self-worth. It's a living expression of your inner stillness and self-respect. And it sends a message to the world. I see myself as someone who deserves to be heard. Tip number 3, handling public humiliation with calm confidence. There's a particular kind of discomfort that comes from being the target of a joke, especially in a group of friends. It can catch you off guard, make your cheeks burn, and leave you unsure of how to respond. You want to preserve the mood but also defend your dignity. It's a tightrope walk between reacting impulsively and losing face, or remaining passive and feeling diminished. But what if you could flip the entire dynamic with calmness, composure, and intention? This is exactly where Stoic philosophy becomes not just helpful, but transformative. Let's begin with a scenario. You're at a casual hangout with friends, maybe even close ones you've known for years. The group is laughing and chatting when someone suddenly brings up an embarrassing story from your past. Maybe an awkward school incident or a personal failure. They tell it as a joke and people laugh. At that moment, it feels like the spotlight is on you in the worst way. You weren't expecting it, and it stings. I've been there. Once at a reunion dinner, a friend brought up a painfully awkward memory from high school, a moment I had long buried. He exaggerated the story for laughs and everyone chuckled. My initial response was emotional. My face flushed, my pulse quickened, and I felt the urge to snap back with a sarcastic comment or expose one of his own embarrassing stories. But then I remembered a Stoic teaching from Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. If it does not harm your essence, do not let it disturb your peace. That one insight gave me pause. I realized that what had been said didn't actually harm me. It was just words. My character, my worth, my essence, those remained untouched. So instead of reacting with anger or shame, I smiled calmly and said, "Wait, I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat the story?" This was not sarcasm. I asked sincerely, as if I were genuinely interested. And something fascinating happened. The energy in the room shifted. The humor began to collapse under its own weight. The storyteller stumbled slightly, the laughter died down, and people started looking around awkwardly. The joke, once retold in a second attempt, had lost its sting and surprise. It no longer had the same punch. What I had done, quite unintentionally at first but fully aligned with Stoic thought, was neutralize the joke through composure. By asking the person to repeat it, I didn't escalate the moment. I didn't match mockery with mockery. I simply invited the joke to stand on its own. And it didn't. Here's why this works so well. Humor aimed at humiliation often thrives on surprise and momentum. When you interrupt that rhythm, not with defensiveness, but with calm curiosity, you strip the moment of its power. You let the awkwardness boomerang back to the one trying to embarrass you. And you do something more. You show that you are unshaken. This is a perfect example of Stoicism in practice. The Stoics taught that we can't always prevent people from behaving poorly, but we can decide how we respond. They saw dignity, calmness, and inner strength as tools more powerful than outrage. And this strategy, pausing, smiling, and calmly asking someone to repeat their joke, embodies those values. It's not passive, it's not submissive, it's centered, intentional, and quietly commanding. Let's break down how you can apply this approach in your own life. 1. Pause instead of reacting. Your initial feelings may urge you to fight back or withdraw. Don't. Take a slow breath and create a moment of internal space. The Stoics believed that between stimulus and response lies our greatest power, choice. Use that space to anchor yourself. 2. Use silence as a mirror. Silence held calmly often reflects back more than any argument. If someone expects a reaction and receives only a cool, composed pause, they're left to confront the awkwardness of their own behavior. 3. Respond with grace, not sarcasm. When you do speak, use your tone to convey strength, not bitterness. A calm, curious, "Could you say that again?" is far more disarming than a cutting remark. It flips the spotlight away from you and onto the person trying to score cheap laughs. 4. Reclaim the moment with composure. After the laughter fades, simply shift the conversation or return to your previous point. Your ease in moving on will reinforce your resilience. You didn't let the moment define you, and that's powerful. This method is not about embarrassing the other person or turning the tables through subtle revenge. It's about setting an emotional boundary. It sends a clear message. You can joke, but you won't shake me. There's an added benefit. Others notice. When you handle such moments with poise, people recognize your strength. You're no longer just part of the group. You become someone with quiet authority. And often those who might have laughed at the joke initially begin to respect you more for how you handled it. More importantly, you respect yourself. You walk through a moment designed to embarrass you, and you emerge with your dignity fully intact. So the next time someone tries to get a laugh at your expense, don't flinch. Don't retaliate. Pause. Smile. And if necessary, ask them to repeat what they said. Watch how quickly the moment shifts in your favor. This isn't just a tactic. It's a way of living from a deeper center, a way of embodying the Stoic ideal that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. And in doing so, you show the world and yourself that you are someone who cannot be shaken by shallow attempts at mockery. You rise not by fighting, but by standing tall in your stillness. That is power, that is respect, and that is Stoicism in action. Tip number 4, derail negativity with calm redirection. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This timeless truth holds immense power in our daily interactions, especially when we find ourselves the target of provocation. Whether it's a sharp comment, an unnecessary critique, or an attempt to get under your skin, how you respond can either fuel the fire or extinguish it with grace. One of the most disarming and effective tools you can use in these moments is deceptively simple. Ask an unrelated, neutral question. This technique doesn't require confrontation or conflict. Instead, it works by subtly shifting the energy of the conversation, creating a kind of psychological judo that throws the provocateur off balance and reclaims your inner peace. The psychology behind the technique. Why does this work so well? Because it interrupts the instigator's emotional momentum. Someone trying to provoke you is expecting a reaction, anger, defensiveness, maybe embarrassment. But when you calmly and naturally ask something like, "Hey, by the way, does anyone know a good sushi place around here?" Their mental script gets thrown off. The tension they created has nowhere to go. The attack fizzles. This disruption is powerful. It demonstrates that you are not governed by someone else's attempt to control the narrative. You remain centered. You remain calm. You demonstrate that your emotions are under your command, not theirs. And this composure is magnetic. People may not consciously realize it at first, but they feel it. You don't need to raise your voice or engage in a war of words to be taken seriously. A calm presence and a subtle redirection speak volumes about your self-mastery. Tone and timing are everything. Of course, the key to making this technique work lies in your tone and timing. It has to feel natural, unforced, uncalculated. If you sound robotic or rehearsed, it may come across as avoidance or passive aggression. The power of this technique is in its casual ease. Your body language should remain relaxed, your voice neutral or even curious. For example, if someone tries to bring up a past failure in front of a group, you might respond with a gentle smile and ask, "By the way, did anyone catch the new movie that just came out? I heard it's surprisingly good." It's not about dodging the insult. It's about refusing to give it weight. The goal isn't to awkwardly sidestep conflict, but to steer the conversation without escalating it. You are showing that you're capable of navigating discomfort without being controlled by it. Building long-term emotional resilience. This isn't just a one-time trick. It's a practice. Each time you successfully apply this technique, you're strengthening your emotional muscles. You're proving to yourself that you can handle adversity without losing your cool, and that confidence carries into every area of life. Over time, people around you will begin to recognize that you are not easily shaken and that you have a quiet authority about you. This builds respect, not the kind that's demanded or forced, but the kind that is earned through behavior and presence. Even more importantly, this technique aligns with a fundamental Stoic teaching. Focus only on what you can control. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control your response. And in that space of control lies your greatest power. A real-world example. Let's say you're at a family dinner and someone makes a jab about a personal mistake you made in the past. You feel the sting. All eyes are on you. You know that biting back might only escalate things, while staying silent might make you look weak. Instead, you smile gently and say, "Hey, does anyone know a good bakery around here? I've been craving something sweet for days." You've just derailed the tension, sidestepped the negativity, and taken the conversation somewhere harmless. It's not denial, it's mastery. And over time, as people see you remain unshaken, they learn that you are not someone to provoke lightly. Not because you retaliate, but because you don't need to. Your silence and redirection carry more strength than their words ever could. The bigger message. When you use this technique, you are sending a powerful message. I will not let you dictate how I feel. I am the master of my emotions. I will not give power to words meant to unsettle me. You're also reinforcing your own sense of self-worth. And that's what Stoicism is about. Not retreating from life's challenges, but meeting them with unshakable clarity and control. Tip number 5, walk away with self-worth intact. Now let's move to the final and perhaps most difficult tip of all, walking away. There will be times when no amount of redirection, silence, or calm confrontation is enough. You've tried being understanding. You've remained composed, and yet the disrespect continues. At that point, Stoicism offers another powerful principle. Sometimes the most courageous act is to simply leave. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, let's call her Sarah, was an exceptionally gifted creative professional. She joined a prominent company and threw herself into the work. But instead of appreciation, she was met with ridicule and subtle sabotage. Her manager frequently dismissed her ideas in meetings, interrupted her mid-sentence, and made sarcastic remarks that chipped away at her confidence. At first, Sarah believed she had to prove herself. She worked harder, stayed late, tried to win her manager's approval, but nothing changed. Eventually, after one particularly humiliating meeting where her suggestion was publicly mocked, she did something unexpected. She calmly closed her laptop, stood up and said, "I think it's time I invested my energy somewhere it's valued." And she walked out, not in a dramatic storm, but with quiet, deliberate dignity. That same afternoon, she submitted her resignation. A few months later, she joined a new company, this time in a leadership role. There, she found the respect and recognition she deserved. Walking away is a declaration of self-worth. Sarah's story isn't unique. We've all been in situations where we feel unseen, unheard, or devalued, and many of us stay too long, believing that if we just work harder or wait long enough, things will improve. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that respect isn't begged for. It's cultivated through the choices we make. Walking away isn't weakness. It's the ultimate assertion of strength. It says, I know my value. I don't need to prove it to anyone who refuses to see it. When to know it's time. You'll know it's time to walk away when you've given your best and received indifference in return. Your presence is consistently diminished rather than appreciated. Your peace of mind is eroding, no matter how composed you try to remain. Don't wait until your confidence is shattered. Leave with your self-respect intact. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Walking away from toxic environments is a living embodiment of that truth. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to be loud. A quiet exit, made with clarity and conviction, is far more powerful than any confrontation. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do for yourself is to stop trying to be accepted by those who won't see your value. Your next step. Remember, being absent from a place that doesn't appreciate you is far better than being present where you're diminished. Let your absence speak as clearly as your presence once did. So next time you feel undervalued, remember, walking away is not giving up. It's stepping into your worth. Final words. If you found these tools useful, whether it's deflecting provocation with a calm question or reclaiming your power by walking away, I encourage you to reflect on how you can apply them in your own life. And if you've made it this far, leave a comment below with "I can do it" to mark your commitment to growth, dignity, and inner peace. You're not just learning Stoicism, you're living it. Thank you for being here, and remember, every moment is an opportunity to act with clarity, integrity, and strength. See you in the next session. Keep rising.